All right, you guys. I'm here to give you guys a little bit of encouragement and to talk through a few things. The world is crazy right now, and as we're all adjusting to this, things are changing daily. But the reality is that during these next few weeks, we all are going to be living a little bit more online. You guys are going to be on social media. You're going to be doing your homework remotely. And one of the things that we want to kind of challenge you is that we need to work on being strong examples of what women can be doing right now. So one of the things you have to think about is that in the next few weeks, you need to watch out for a few things, because as you're online more, as we're isolated and by ourselves, be aware of how you are putting your presence out to the world. Don't fall into the trap of comparing yourself. Your situation is different. Everybody's situation is different right now. You may be at home by yourself. You may have siblings, so just be aware of the comparison. Be aware of how you're dealing with the disappointment. A lot of you guys have been building to things, whether it's track season or senior play or different things. And the reality is that we're all dealing with disappointment right now in some way. So be aware of your disappointment and how to work through that. And be aware of your isolation and your loneliness that may happen. So you need to really kind of think about how we can fight through that. The reality is that if we focus on ourselves right now, that this is going to be a long couple of weeks. So the challenge is, how can you be a strong example of a woman in the world by putting out positivity and focusing on others? So one way to think about how you can be a strong woman right now is to feel grounded and centered in God's love for you. I'm going to read a letter. It was on my kids' devotion website the other day. So this is kind of a letter from God. So just listen for a second. It says, "Dearest child, have you forgotten how much I love you? I love you with an everlasting love. I cannot forget you. I drew a picture of you on my hand. You are always before my eyes. Remember that my faithful love will never leave you. I know the world seems crazy and out of control right now, but remember that I am much bigger than all of that. And I still see you. I know what you need right now, and I know what you need for tomorrow. You know this. Has there ever been a time when I didn't give you what you needed for the day? It may not have been what you wanted, but it was what you needed, trust me. Have you ever lacked for anything that was truly important? You do trust me, right? Trust me to keep my promises, because I am the Lord your God who holds your right hand. Fear not, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by name. You are mine. You are my child. Rest in that thought as you go into the world today." So I wanted to just read that to you guys to just remind you that God is still noticing you. So one way to kind of combat all of this in the world is to try and think of a time when you felt noticed by God. And sometimes we don't really think about that ahead of time. Think about a day where maybe you were struggling with something and you went to the beach for a walk, and as you were walking, then all of a sudden, like, you saw dolphins in the waves and they were pacing you, and it was like God sent that to help you in that moment. So one challenge is that you do have to notice things. You have to notice how the person in line behind you at the grocery store said you could go ahead of them because you only had 2 or 3 things versus their mountain of things. There is going to be kindness and there's going to be love out in the world right now. We have to make sure we're ready and willing to see it. I have one story of like an extreme example of this. I've been pretty fortunate to be able to go on the Europe trips. So one year we were going to England. When I saw the itinerary, we were stopping in Salisbury. And it was just for a lunch stop. And I was all excited because there's this great cathedral in Salisbury. And I love old architecture and old churches. So I got all excited because we were stopping there and everybody else was just, whatever, it's Salisbury. But when we got there, the sequence of events was just crazy because I was really looking forward to seeing this church. We got there and the town was way less touristy and crowded than a normal time because they had this like little minor almost terrorist incidents. So a lot of tour companies had not put Salisbury on their list. So it was empty. We went to the cathedral and they had this art installation going on because it was commemorating the end of World War I. And they had this beautiful origami, like dove exhibit going on in the church, which I normally wouldn't have seen. And then at the end of the church, there was they called it a silent disco. You could put on headphones, and they were playing music. It was like Bruno Mars and Earth, Wind and Fire and like disco music. And so it was silent. You put on headphones, you went to the front of the church, and people were dancing. And it was silent, so it was still kind of respectful to the church. But it was this really weird, just event. So all of a sudden, I don't just get to experience this 700-year-old church. I get to dance in the front of the church. I'm watching all these people around me who are just doing this out of joy, pure acceptance. Old people, young people, everybody is just like dancing together, and they're just having fun. And there was just like God's love. I just felt like there was a spotlight on me. God was just saying, like, here, I made this experience just for you. So you didn't need to, as you're going through these next few weeks, you really need to just be open and have eyes to see when God is like spotlighting you, because he is noticing you and he still is with you. The other challenge for you is, how can you make positivity and joy out into the world? Okay, a danger teenage girls have is that during this time period, you guys could act and fill out a stereotype. The stereotype of a teenage girl online in social media. I'm pretty sure you guys know what we're talking about, but are we going to be mean and catty? Are we going to be comparing? What kind of things are we going to be putting on social media? So your challenge is, how can you be one of the people who are trying to put love and joy and peace out into the world? One of the verses I wanted to share with you is Hebrews 10:24 and 25. It says, "Let us consider how we may spur one another on towards love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching." So you have to be a little creative. How can you still make community right now? How can you share positive things with each other? How can you help your neighbors when you're not supposed to be getting together? How can you encourage your classmates? So that's challenges for you guys now to think, how can you use social media to put something positive in the world? How can you create a Google Doc where you guys just put encouraging verses, on and share it with each other? You have to use all of your creativity, putting out videos and making things that people can, just be encouraged and feel God's love. So that's pretty much it for you guys. The goal is to be a strong woman for God. Try and be positive and try and share that to other people, but also just feel grounded and centered, because God is with all of us through this. He has a plan, he has a purpose. It's hard to see that. So just really feel grounded in his love. Thanks.